My name is Rachel Torres, and I'm 38 years old. 20 years ago, my parents threw me out at 18 when I got pregnant. They called me trash, said I'd ruined their reputation, and told me never to come back. Today, they're standing in a courtroom trying to take my son away from me. Not because they care about him, because he's worth $40 million and they want every penny. What they don't know is that I've been recording every conversation, saving every text, and building a case that's about to destroy them in front of everyone they've spent 2 decades trying to impress. Before we start, please like and subscribe, but only if stories about justice really speak to you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Now, let me take you back to the night everything changed. It was November 2004. I was 18 years old, sitting on my bed in our house in Riverside, California, staring at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I'd taken 3 tests, all positive. I was 2 months pregnant, and the father, Tyler Chin, had already made it clear what he thought about that. Get rid of it, he'd said over the phone 3 days earlier. My parents will pay for it, but if you keep it, we're done. I'm going to UCLA. I'm not throwing my life away. Then, he blocked my number. I had to tell my parents. I kept thinking maybe they'd be upset at first, but then they helped me. They'd raised me in church. They talked about family values all the time. My father, David Torres, was a deacon. My mother, Patricia, led the women's Bible study group. I walked downstairs. They were in the living room watching the news. My father in his recliner, my mother on the couch with her reading glasses on, going through her church schedule. Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you. My father muted the TV. What is it? I'm pregnant. The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. My mother's face went completely white, then red. Then she stood up so fast her reading glasses fell off. You're lying. I'm not. I took 3 tests. My father stood up too. His face looked like stone. Who's the father? Tyler Chin. But he doesn't want anything to do with it. Of course he doesn't. My mother's voice was shaking. Because you're a slut who opened her legs and ruined everything. Mom, please. Don't call me that. She was crying now, angry tears. Do you have any idea what you've done? We have a reputation in this community. Your father is a deacon. I lead Bible study. And you've made us look like failures. My father walked to the window, his back to me. You'll get an abortion. Tomorrow. We'll pay for it. No one needs to know. I don't want an abortion. He turned around. This isn't about what you want. This is about protecting this family. I'm part of this family. Not anymore. He said it so coldly, like he was firing an employee. If you keep that baby, you're not our daughter. I looked at my mother, hoping she'd say something. Anything. But she just stood there, crying and shaking her head. You have until morning to decide, my father said. Abortion or you leave. Those are your options. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking they'd change their minds. That in the morning, they'd come to my room and tell me they'd been too harsh, that we'd figure it out together. At 6 a.m., my father knocked on my door. What's your decision? I'm keeping the baby. Then pack your things. You have 1 hour. Dad, please. You made your choice. Now live with it. 1 hour. That's all I got to pack up 18 years of my life. Clothes, some photos, my grandmother's necklace she'd given me before she died. I had $340 in my bank account from my part-time job at the bookstore. My mother stood at the top of the stairs as I carried my suitcase down. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I didn't destroy anything. I made a mistake. A mistake we have to live with. Everyone at church, everyone in the neighborhood, they'll all know what kind of daughter we raised. My father opened the front door. Leave your key. I set it on the table by the door. What am I supposed to do? That's not our problem anymore. The door closed behind me. I heard the lock click. I stood on the porch of the house I'd grown up in, suitcase in hand, and I had nowhere to go. I called my best friend, Jasmine. Her parents let me stay for 3 days. Then they sat me down and said they couldn't have me there anymore. It wouldn't look right having a pregnant girl staying with them. What would people think? I tried my Aunt Maria, my mother's sister. She said she couldn't go against my parents' wishes. Family unity was important. For 2 weeks, I slept in my car, a 1998 Honda Civic that barely ran. I'd park behind the grocery store where I used to work, hoping no one would notice. I'd use the bathroom at gas stations to wash up. I ate dollar menu items and crackers I stole from the bookstore. Then one morning, I woke up to someone tapping on my window. A woman in her 60s, wearing a nurse's uniform. "Honey, are you okay?" I tried to lie, but I just started crying. She opened my car door and sat on the curb next to me while I fell apart. "I'm Diane Murphy," she said. "I'm a nurse at County Hospital. How far along are you?" "Almost 3 months." "When's the last time you ate a real meal?" I couldn't remember. "Come on, let's get you some breakfast." Diane took me to a diner and ordered me eggs, pancakes, bacon, orange juice. I ate like I hadn't seen food in weeks, which wasn't far from the truth. "Where are your parents?" she asked. "They kicked me out." She nodded like she'd heard this story before. "I have a spare room. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. You can stay until you figure things out." "Why would you help me?"
"You don't even know me."
"Because I was you once. Pregnant at 19, no family support.
Someone helped me.
Now I help others." I moved into Diane's house that day. She lived alone in a small 2-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood. The spare room had a bed, a dresser, and a small desk. It felt like a palace compared to my car. "Rules are simple," she said. "Keep the room clean. Help with groceries when you can. And you need to finish school. I don't care if you're pregnant. You're getting your diploma." Diane didn't just give me a place to stay. She gave me a future. She drove me to my prenatal appointments. She helped me apply for government assistance. She made sure I went to school every day, even when I was throwing up from morning sickness. The other kids at school whispered. The girls I used to be friends with avoided me. Tyler Chin walked past me in the hallways like I was invisible. But I didn't care anymore. I had bigger things to worry about. My son, Marcus, was born in June 2005. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Dark hair like his father, my nose, and the strongest grip I'd ever felt. When they put him in my arms, I looked down at this tiny person and made him a promise. "I'll never let anyone make you feel unwanted. I'll never choose my reputation over you. You're wanted. You're loved. And I'll prove it every single day." Diane was in the delivery room with me. She cut the cord. She was the first person besides me to hold Marcus. She became the grandmother my son deserved. I finished high school with a newborn. Took my finals with Marcus sleeping in a car seat next to my desk because Diane was working and I couldn't afford a babysitter. I graduated with a 3.8 GPA. Then I went to community college. Business classes at night while Diane watched Marcus. I worked 2 jobs during the day. Waitress in the morning, bookkeeper for a small company in the afternoon. I slept 4 hours a night if I was lucky. By the time Marcus was 5, I'd saved enough to start my own bookkeeping business. Small clients at first. Local shops, a few restaurants. But I was good at it. Really good. Numbers made sense to me. I could see patterns, find ways to save money, spot problems before they became disasters. Marcus was brilliant. He taught himself to read at 4. By 7, he was doing math 2 grades ahead. By 10, he was programming computers. At 13, he built an app that helped small businesses manage their inventory. "Mom, I think I can sell this," he said one day. "Then let's find out how." We met with investors. Marcus, at 13, pitched his app to rooms full of adults. They laughed at first. A kid trying to sell business software? But then they saw the app work.
They saw how smart he was.
How confident. 3 companies made offers. Marcus sold his app for $2 million when he was 14 years old. The money changed things. We moved out of Diane's house into our own place. Nothing fancy, just a nice 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood. I paid off Diane's mortgage. Set up a college fund for Marcus.
Invested the rest.
Marcus didn't stop. At 15, he built another app. This one sold for $8 million. At 16, another one. $15 million. By the time he turned 18, my son was worth $40 million. And he'd earned every penny himself. He got accepted to MIT at 16. Graduated at 19 with a degree in computer science. Now, at 20, he runs his own tech company. 60 employees. Contracts with major corporations. He's been featured in Forbes, TechCrunch, Business Insider. And through all of it, my parents never called. Never sent a card. Never acknowledged that Marcus existed. Until 3 months ago. Marcus was on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. 20-year-old CEO builds $40 million empire. The article mentioned his full name. Marcus Torres. My last name. The name my parents had told me to never use again. 2 days after the magazine hit stands, I got an email. From my father's lawyer. Dear Ms. Torres, we represent David and Patricia Torres, the biological grandparents of Marcus Torres. Our clients wish to establish a relationship with their grandson and discuss matters of inheritance and family legacy. Please contact our office to arrange a meeting. I stared at that email for an hour. 20 years of silence. 20 years of acting like Marcus and I didn't exist. And now they wanted a meeting. I called my lawyer, Janet Kim. I'd hired her years ago to help with business contracts. She'd become a friend. They can't just show up after 20 years, I told her. Actually, they can. California has grandparent visitation rights under certain circumstances. Even if they abandoned us? That's where it gets complicated. They'll claim they tried to maintain contact and you refused. Do you have any proof that they kicked you out? I thought about it. The locks were changed. I couldn't get back in. But I don't have that in writing. We need documentation. Anything that shows they abandoned you. I didn't respond to the email. I hoped they'd give up. But 2 weeks later, they showed up in my office. I run my business out of a small suite downtown. Nothing fancy, but professional. My assistant buzzed me. Rachel, there are 2 people here to see you. They say they're your parents. My stomach dropped. Send them in. I hadn't seen them in 20 years. My father's hair was completely gray now. My mother had gained weight, her face lined with wrinkles. They looked older. Smaller somehow. Rachel. My father stood in the doorway like he was waiting for permission to enter. What do you want? We'd like to talk. About Marcus. About family. We're not family. You made that clear 20 years ago. My mother stepped forward. We made a mistake. We were harsh. But we've changed. We want to make things right. Make things right? You threw me out when I was pregnant. You told me I was dead to you. And now that my son is successful, you want to be family? We didn't know where you were, my father said. We tried to find you. You knew exactly where I was. I stayed in Riverside. You just didn't care enough to look. That's not true. My mother pulled out a tissue. Real tears or fake. I couldn't tell.
We asked people about you.
No one knew where you'd gone. You asked people? You could have hired an investigator. You could have checked with the hospital where I gave birth. You could have done 100 things. But you didn't want to find me. You wanted me gone. My father's face hardened. The warmth he'd tried to fake disappeared. We came here to reconcile. To offer Marcus his rightful place in our family. His rightful place? He's never been part of your family. He's a Torres. He has our blood. He deserves to know his heritage. His heritage? You mean your money? We've built a significant estate. Marcus should benefit from that. And there it was. The real reason they were here. How much? I asked. Excuse me? How much is your estate worth? Since you're suddenly so concerned about Marcus benefiting from it. My father shifted. That's not relevant. It's completely relevant. You don't care about Marcus. You care about his $40 million. You want a piece of it. That's absurd. Is it? Because I'm guessing your business isn't doing so well. I'm guessing you need money. And you figured your rich grandson would be an easy target. My mother stood up. How dare you accuse us of that? We're offering to include Marcus in our will. To give him opportunities. Marcus doesn't need your opportunities. He's built his own life. Without you. Despite you. You're being selfish, my father said. Keeping a son from his grandparents. That's cruel. You want to talk about cruel? Let me tell you about cruel. Cruel is sleeping in my car while pregnant. Cruel is eating crackers for dinner because that's all I could afford. Cruel is going to prenatal appointments alone because the people who were supposed to love me chose their reputation instead. We were protecting our family, my mother said. I was your family. Marcus is your family. You just didn't think we were worth protecting. They left after that. but I knew they'd be back. People like my parents don't give up when money's involved. If you've ever had family show up only when you're successful, leave a comment. I want to hear your story. And if this video resonates with you, please subscribe. We're building a community of people who understand that real family shows up in the hard times, not just the good ones. Now let me tell you what happened next, because it gets so much worse before it gets better. 3 days after that office visit, Marcus came home upset. Mom, someone's been calling me.
Who?
They say they're my grandparents. Your parents. They found my cell number somehow. My blood went cold. What did they say? That they've been trying to reach out to you, but you won't let them meet me. That they just want to know their grandson. They sounded really sad about it. This was their game. Go around me, get to Marcus directly. Make themselves look like victims. Marcus, sit down. I need to tell you something. I told him everything. The pregnancy, the ultimatum, being kicked out, living in my car. I'd always kept it vague before. Said we'd had a falling out. But he deserved the whole truth now. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. They really kicked you out while you were pregnant with me? Yes. And they never called? Never checked on us? Not once in 20 years. But now that I have money, they want to be family. That's what it looks like. He stood up and started pacing. They called me 3 times today. Left voicemails. Said they were worried about me being manipulated by you. That you were keeping them away out of spite. Do you believe that? He looked at me. Mom, you raised me alone. You worked 3 jobs to put food on the table. You slept 4 hours a night to get your degree. You built a business from nothing. You're the least spiteful person I know. Thank you, baby. But they're really persistent. They sent me an email with old photos. Pictures of you when you were young. Birthday parties, holidays. They said they miss having family. That they made mistakes, but they want to fix things. They sent you photos?
Yeah.
Want to see? He showed me his phone. There I was. 6 years old, blowing out birthday candles. 10 years old, opening Christmas presents. 14, at a family barbecue. All smiles. All fake. I remembered those days. The pressure to be perfect. To make them look good. Those photos don't tell the real story, I said. I know. But they're really good at making themselves look like victims. Like you're the one being unreasonable. That's when I realized how dangerous this was. My parents weren't just trying to reconnect. They were building a case. Making themselves look sympathetic. Making me look like the bad guy who was keeping a grandson from his loving grandparents. I called Janet Kim again. They're contacting Marcus directly. Sending him photos. Trying to paint themselves as victims. That's harassment. We can send a cease and desist letter. Will that stop them? Probably not. But it documents that you asked them to stop. If this goes to court, that matters. You think this is going to court? Rachel, they showed up at your office with a lawyer. They're contacting your son. They're building a case for grandparent visitation rights. Yes, I think this is going to court. The letter was sent on a Friday. By Monday, my parents had filed a lawsuit. Not just for visitation rights. They were suing for partial custody of Marcus. Partial custody of my 20-year-old son. They can't do that. I told Janet when she called to tell me. He's an adult. That's the thing. They're not suing for custody of Marcus. They're suing for guardianship of his assets, claiming he's been unduly influenced by you and needs family oversight to protect his interests. I felt like I'd been punched. They're trying to control his money. That's exactly what they're doing. They're claiming that Marcus is too young to handle that much wealth responsibly. That family should be involved in major financial decisions. That you've isolated him from extended family who could provide guidance. This is insane. It's calculated. And they have expensive lawyers. This is going to be a fight. The lawsuit became public within days. My parents made sure of it. They went to the local news first. Channel 7, the same station that had covered Marcus's success. Grandparents fight for right to know grandson, the headline read. The story painted them as heartbroken. They showed old photos, the same ones they'd sent Marcus. They talked about how they'd lost touch with their daughter years ago. How they tried to reconnect, but I refused. How they just wanted to be part of their grandson's life. We made mistakes when Rachel was young, my mother said on camera. dabbing at her eyes. We were too strict. We reacted poorly to her pregnancy. But we've grown. We've learned. And we just want a chance to know Marcus. To be his grandparents. No mention of throwing me out. No mention of 20 years of silence. Just two sad, elderly people who wanted to love their grandson. The comments on the news station's Facebook page were brutal. How cruel can a mother be? Let the grandparents see their grandson. She's obviously keeping him away out of spite. Grow up and forgive. Money changes people. She probably doesn't want to share.
Share.
Like Marcus's success was something I was hoarding. Marcus read the comments and got angry. This is garbage. They're lying about everything. I know, baby. We need to tell the truth. Our side of the story. If we do that, this becomes a media circus.
They want that.
They want public pressure to force us to settle. So what do we do? We let the lawyers handle it. We document everything. And we trust that the truth will come out. But the pressure kept building. My parents gave more interviews. They hired a PR firm. They started a social media campaign. #LetThemLove became a hashtag. People who didn't know anything about our situation were sharing posts about grandparents' rights. My business started getting negative reviews. 1-star ratings from people who'd never used our services. Comments calling me heartless, cruel, greedy. Marcus's company got emails demanding he reconcile with his grandparents or face boycotts. This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It was a campaign to destroy us. Janet brought in a team. A family law specialist, a PR consultant, and a private investigator. We need to fight this on every front, she said. Legal, public opinion, and evidence. What kind of evidence? Anything that proves they abandoned you. Anyone who remembers what happened. Documents, witnesses, anything. I started digging through old boxes, looking for anything from that time. And I found something. A letter from my mother to my Aunt Maria, dated December 2004. 1 month after they kicked me out. Maria, please don't contact Rachel. She's made her choice. We've cut all ties. She's not part of this family anymore. If anyone asks, tell them she moved away for school. We don't need people knowing the truth. The letter was signed and dated. Proof, in my mother's own handwriting, that they'd cut me off. That they'd told family to lie about where I'd gone. This is gold, Janet said when I showed her. This proves they initiated the estrangement. That it wasn't your choice. We found more. An email from my father to his church leadership, asking them to remove my name from the member directory. A Christmas card list from 2005 with my name crossed out. Small pieces, but together they built a case. The private investigator found even more. He talked to people who'd known my family back then. Neighbors who remembered me being pregnant and then suddenly gone. Church members who'd asked about me and been told I'd moved away. Teachers at my high school who remembered me withdrawing mid-semester. One of my old teachers, Mrs. Rodriguez, agreed to testify. I remember Rachel, she said. She was a good student. When she came back to finish her senior year, she was living with someone named Diane. Not her parents. I asked her about it once, and she said her parents didn't want her anymore. Those were her exact words. They don't want me anymore. We were building a case. But my parents were building one too. They found Tyler Chin, Marcus's biological father. The one who'd told me to get an abortion and then blocked my number. He agreed to testify for them. Why would he do that? Marcus asked when Janet told us. Money, probably. Your grandparents are paying him. Or promising him something. Tyler showed up at a deposition looking nervous. He'd gained weight, lost most of his hair. He avoided looking at me. Mr. Chin, Janet asked. What's your relationship with Marcus Torres? He's my biological son. Have you ever met him?
No.
Have you ever provided financial support?
No.
Have you ever attempted to contact him? No, but I'd like to now. I think it's important for Marcus to know both sides of his family. Both sides? You mean the side that abandoned him and the side that told his mother to abhor him? Tyler's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. My parents' lawyers tried a different angle. They brought in a psychologist who testified that children benefit from knowing their extended family. That cutting off grandparents causes emotional harm. That I was being vindictive by keeping Marcus away from his biological family. Dr. Morrison, Janet asked during cross-examination. In your professional opinion, does emotional harm occur when grandparents reject a pregnant teenager and refuse contact for 20 years? Well, that's not quite the same situation, isn't it? You're testifying that cutting off family causes harm. Doesn't that harm go both ways? Don't grandparents cause harm when they abandon their grandchild before he's even born? I'm not here to judge the grandparents' past actions. But you're here to judge the mother's current actions? Interesting. The trial was set for 6 months out. 6 months of legal bills, media attacks, and constant stress. My parents kept doing interviews. They showed up at events where Marcus was speaking, trying to approach him. They sent gifts to his office. They posted on social media about their missing grandson.
It was exhausting.
But we kept fighting. Then something changed. The investigator found someone I'd forgotten about. Officer James Crawford. He'd been a cop in Riverside 20 years ago. He'd been the one who'd found me sleeping in my car. I remember that night, he said when the investigator contacted him. Young girl, pregnant, living in her car behind the grocery store. I asked her why she wasn't at home. She said her parents had kicked her out for being pregnant. I offered to talk to them, but she said they'd made it clear she wasn't welcome. Would you be willing to testify to that? Absolutely. I've seen a lot of bad parenting in my career. But throwing out a pregnant teenager? That stuck with me. I'm happy to help. Officer Crawford's testimony would be huge. An unbiased witness with no connection to either side. Just a cop who'd seen what happened and remembered. But we still needed more. We needed to prove that my parents weren't just trying to be grandparents. They were trying to get money. That's when Marcus had an idea. What if we give them what they want? What do you mean? What if I agree to meet with them? But I record it. I get them to admit what they really want. Janet shook her head. California is a two-party consent state. You can't record someone without their permission. But I can take notes during a meeting. I can remember what they say. And if they admit they want money, that's evidence, right? It's your word against theirs. Unless they put it in writing. Marcus pulled out his phone. What if I text them? Ask them directly what they want from this relationship? They're old. They don't understand how texts can be used in court. It was risky. But we were running out of options. Marcus sent the text. This is Marcus. I'm willing to meet with you, but I need to understand what you want from this. What are you hoping for? My mother responded within minutes. Sweetheart, we just want to be your grandparents. To have a relationship with you. To include you in our family legacy. What does family legacy mean? Well, we have a family business. Properties. Investments. You're a Torres. You should be part of that. Are you asking to be part of my business? A long pause. Then my father took over the texting. We think families should work together. Pool resources. Your success is impressive, but you're young. You could benefit from our experience and our connections. So, you want to be involved in my company? We want to help protect what you've built. Make sure you're making smart decisions. Family looks out for family. By controlling my business? By guiding you. You're only 20. That's a lot of money for someone your age to handle alone. There it was. In writing. They wanted control of his money. Marcus showed Janet the texts. She smiled for the first time in weeks. This is exactly what we needed. They're admitting they want involvement in his business. They're questioning his ability to handle his own affairs. They're proving this isn't about family. It's about money. The trial finally started in October. The courtroom was packed. Media, family, friends, people who'd seen the news coverage and wanted to watch. My parents sat on one side with their lawyers. Marcus and I sat on the other with Janet and her team. The judge, Honor Linda Martinez, was in her 60s. She had a reputation for being fair but tough. She didn't tolerate games. My parents' lawyer, Robert Flynn, went first. He painted a picture of loving grandparents who'd made mistakes in the past but wanted to make amends. Who'd been shut out by a vengeful daughter. Who just wanted a chance to know their grandson. Your Honor, the Torres family is asking for the most basic of human rights. The right to know their grandchild. The right to be part of his life. They're not asking for money. They're not asking for control. They're simply asking for the opportunity to build a relationship. Then it was Janet's turn. She stood up with a stack of documents. Your Honor, this case isn't about grandparents' rights. It's about money. And we can prove it. She submitted the texts. The ones where my parents admitted they wanted involvement in Marcus's business. The ones where they questioned his ability to handle his money. Then she called Officer Crawford. He testified about finding me in my car. About how I'd told him my parents had kicked me out. About how I'd refused his offer to contact them, because they'd made it clear I wasn't welcome. In your professional judgment, Officer Crawford, did this young woman appear to have anywhere else to go?
No, ma'am.
She had a suitcase and $340. That was it. Did she appear to be lying or exaggerating?
No.
She appeared scared and alone. Then Janet called Diane Murphy. She testified about taking me in. About how I'd never mentioned my parents trying to contact me. About how I'd worked myself nearly to death to provide for Marcus. Did Rachel ever keep Marcus from his grandparents? Janet asked. How could she? They never asked to see him. In 20 years, not one phone call. Not one letter. Not one birthday card. They didn't care about that boy until he was worth millions. My parents' lawyer tried to recover. He called Tyler Chin to testify. Tyler talked about wanting to be part of Marcus's life now. About regretting his past choices. Janet destroyed him on cross-examination. Mr. Chin, you told Rachel to abort this child, correct? I was 18. I was scared. You blocked her number when she told you she was pregnant? Yes. You never paid $1 of child support?
No.
You never sent a birthday card?
No.
You never attempted to meet Marcus until his grandparents contacted you and offered you money to testify, correct? They didn't offer me money. They just said it would be good for Marcus to know his biological father. Really? Because we have bank records showing a $50,000 deposit into your account 3 days after you agreed to testify. From an account belonging to David Torres. Would you like to explain that? Tyler's face went white. He had no answer. The judge called a recess. When we came back, she looked angry. Mr. Flynn, are your clients paying witnesses? Your Honor, that was a personal loan. A personal loan to a man your clients hadn't spoken to in 20 years? A man who conveniently agreed to testify right after receiving $50,000? That's witness tampering. Your Honor. I'm not finished. I've reviewed the evidence. The texts, the testimony, the bank records. This case has nothing to do with grandparents' rights. This is about two people who abandoned their daughter and grandson and now want access to money they didn't earn and don't deserve. My mother started crying. My father stared straight ahead, his jaw tight. I'm dismissing this case with prejudice, Judge Martinez continued. That means it can't be filed again. Furthermore, I'm granting a permanent restraining order. Mr. and Mrs. Torres are prohibited from contacting Rachel Torres, Marcus Torres, or any member of their household. They are prohibited from coming within 500 feet of their homes or businesses. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Your Honor, please. My father started to stand. Sit down, Mr. Torres. I'm not done. I'm also referring this case to the DA's office for investigation of witness tampering and fraud. You attempted to manipulate this court with false testimony and hidden financial arrangements. That's a crime. My parents' lawyer tried to argue, but Judge Martinez shut him down. We're done here. Case dismissed. The courtroom exploded. Media rushed to get comments. My parents' lawyer was trying to control the situation. Janet was hugging Marcus and me. But the best part? The judge spoke directly to my parents before leaving the bench. Mr. and Mrs. Torres, I've been a judge for 23 years. I've seen a lot of bad parents. But you two are something special. You threw out your pregnant daughter. You abandoned your grandson before he was born. And when he became successful, you tried to steal from him. I hope whatever money you thought you'd get was worth destroying any chance of a real relationship. Get out of my courtroom. They left through the back exit, avoiding the media. But we didn't hide. Marcus and I walked out the front doors together. The reporters swarmed us. Marcus, how do you feel about the ruling?
He put his arm around me.
I feel grateful. Grateful for my mom, who raised me alone. Grateful for Diane, who gave us a home when no one else would. And grateful for a legal system that saw through lies and protected us. Do you have any message for your grandparents?
Yes.
Money doesn't make you family. Showing up does. And you never showed up. The story went viral. Not the version my parents had tried to spin. The truth. The texts were leaked. The testimony became public. The witness tampering investigation made headlines. Within a week, my parents' reputation was destroyed. The church they'd attended for 30 years asked them to leave. My father had to resign from his position as deacon. My mother lost all her leadership roles. Their friends stopped calling. The country club they'd been members of for decades quietly asked them not to renew. The business contacts they'd bragged about wanting to introduce Marcus to wanted nothing to do with them. The witness tampering investigation led to charges. Not jail time, but hefty fines and probation. Their lawyer bills alone were over $200,000. They had to sell their house to pay for everything. I heard all this through Diane, who still had connections in Riverside. She'd call with updates and, honestly, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity. Just nothing. They moved to Arizona, Diane told me one day. Living in some retirement community. Your mom's sister took them in. Good for them. You really don't care, do you? I cared 20 years ago when I needed parents, and they threw me away. I cared when I was pregnant and scared, and they chose their reputation over me.
But now?
They're just two people who made terrible choices and have to live with them. Marcus handled it better than I expected. He went back to work, focused on his company. He never mentioned my parents again. It was like they'd never existed. But Tyler kept trying. He called, texted, showed up at Marcus's office building. The restraining order didn't apply to him, just my parents. Finally, Marcus agreed to meet him for coffee. Just once.
To settle it.
I offered to come with him. He said no. I need to do this alone, Mom. I need to tell him myself. They met at a Starbucks downtown. Marcus told me later what happened. Tyler came dressed in a suit, trying to look successful. Marcus, thank you for meeting me. I know I messed up. You did. I was young. I was stupid. But I want to make it right. I want to be your father. I already have a father.
Lance Murphy. Diane.
He's been in my life since I was 10. He taught me to drive. Helped me with college applications.
Comes to my company events.
That's my dad. But I'm your biological father. That has to count for something.
Why?
You contributed DNA. That's it. You told my mom to abort me. You blocked her number. You took money from people trying to hurt us. What exactly do you think you deserve? Tyler started crying. I need help, Marcus. I'm broke. I lost everything. Your grandparents promised me money if I testified, but after the case fell apart, they cut me off. I have nothing. And you think I'm going to give you money? You're my son. Family helps family. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. You're right. Family does help family.
But you're not my family.
You're just a guy who got my mom pregnant 20 years ago. That's all you'll ever be. He left Tyler sitting there and never looked back. 3 months after the trial, Marcus did something that surprised everyone. He started a foundation. The Marcus Torres Foundation for Teen Parents. I want to help kids like you were, Mom, he said. Pregnant teenagers who get kicked out, who have nowhere to go, who need someone to believe in them. The foundation provides housing, childcare, education support, job training. Everything I had to struggle to find, Marcus made accessible. The first facility opened in Riverside, the city where I'd slept in my car. A beautiful building with apartments for teen parents, a daycare center, tutoring rooms, and a career center. At the grand opening, Marcus gave a speech. 20 years ago, my mom was 18 and pregnant. Her parents kicked her out. She slept in her car. She had $340 and a suitcase. Most people would have given up. She didn't. She found help from a nurse named Diane Murphy, who gave her a safe place to live. She worked 3 jobs. She finished school. She built a business. She raised me to believe that circumstances don't define you.
Choices do.
The crowd applauded. Diane was there, sitting in the front row, crying happy tears. This foundation exists because I know what it's like to be wanted, Marcus continued. My mom wanted me when no one else did. She chose me when everyone told her to choose differently. And because of that, I got to live. I got to learn. I got to build something. Every teenager who comes through these doors will get that same chance. I stood backstage, watching my son, and thought about the scared 18-year-old girl I'd been. The The one who thought her life was over. The one who didn't know how she'd survive. If I could go back and tell her that everything would be okay, would I? That in 20 years, she'd have a son who'd change the world? That she'd build a successful business? That she'd find real family in people who weren't blood? Maybe. But maybe that scared girl needed to go through it all to become who she is now. After the speech, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 17, pregnant, holding a backpack. Are you Rachel Torres? Yes.
I am Brianna.
I just got kicked out by my parents. Someone told me about this foundation. Is it real?
Can you really help me?
I looked at her, at the fear in her eyes, at the way she was holding that backpack like it was all she had left in the world. Yes, honey, we can help. Come with me. I walked her into the building, showed her the apartments, the daycare, the classrooms, introduced her to the counselors who'd help her apply for assistance, finish school, find a job. Why are you doing this? She asked. Why do you care about people like me? Because I was you, and someone cared about me when they didn't have to. Now it's my turn to care. She started crying. My parents said I ruined my life, that I'd never be anything. Your parents are wrong. You didn't ruin your life. You just took a different path than they planned. And that's okay. You get to decide what your life looks like, not them. Brianna moved into the foundation that day. Last I heard, she'd had her baby, a little girl named Hope. She finished high school, started community college. She wants to be a social worker. That's 300 young parents we've helped so far. 300 kids who won't sleep in cars, who won't skip meals, who won't feel unwanted. And every single one. Each of them knows that being a young parent doesn't mean your life is over. It just means your life looks different than other people expected. And different isn't bad. It's just different. As for my parents, I heard through the grapevine that they tried to contact Marcus one more time. A letter sent to his office. He returned it unopened with a note that said, "Return to sender. No such family at this address." They gave up after that. Sometimes Diane asks me if I've forgiven them. Have you let go of the anger? I don't have anger anymore, I tell her. I have boundaries. There's a difference. But don't you think forgiveness is important? Forgiveness doesn't mean letting toxic people back into your life. It means accepting that they are who they are and choosing not to let that define you anymore. I've done that. But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to have a relationship with them. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed. Diane nods. She understands. She was the one who taught me that real love shows up. It doesn't just talk about family values. It lives them. Marcus got married last year to a wonderful woman named Jennifer who works in education policy. They met at a conference about supporting at-risk youth. The wedding was beautiful, small, intimate, just the people who really mattered. Diane walked Marcus down the aisle. She's 83 now, moving a little slower, but her mind is sharp as ever. She wore a purple dress and cried through the whole ceremony. I never had kids of my own, she told me at the reception. But I got you and Marcus. That's better than anything I could have asked for. You saved our lives, Diane. No, honey. You saved your own life. I just gave you a safe place to do it. At the reception, Marcus gave a toast. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially the people who've been here since the beginning. My mom, who gave up everything to give me everything. Diane, who gave us a home when we had nowhere else to go. Lance, who showed me what a real father looks like. And Jennifer, who chose to love me knowing my family history is complicated. He raised his glass. To chosen family. To the people who show up. To love that's earned, not expected. Everyone drank to that. Later, when the party was winding down, Marcus pulled me aside. Mom, I need to tell you something. What is it? Jennifer's pregnant. I grabbed his hands. Oh my God, you're going to be a father?
Yeah.
And I'm terrified. What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? I smiled. Marcus, you were raised by a single mom who had no idea what she was doing, who made a million mistakes, who fed you cereal for dinner more times than she'd like to admit. And you turned out pretty amazing. You'll be fine. But what if? What if nothing? You're going to love that baby. You're going to show up every day. You're going to make mistakes and you'll learn from them. That's all parenting is. Showing up and doing your best. Did you ever regret it? Keeping me? Not for 1 second. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You gave my life purpose when I thought it was over. You made me better.
Stronger.
Everything good in my life came from choosing you.
He hugged me.
I'm going to tell our kid about you. About how you were 18 and alone and scared. About how you didn't give up. About how you built something from nothing. Tell them about Diane too. Tell them about how sometimes family finds you when you need it most. I will. Marcus and Jennifer had a boy. They named him David. Not after my father, but after David Murphy, Diane's late husband. The man whose kindness to a stranger 50 years ago taught Diane to be kind to me. When little David was born, I held him and made the same promise I'd made to Marcus. You're wanted. You're loved. And you'll always have family who chooses you. That's what I want people to understand. Family isn't just about blood. It's not about who shows up when life is good and you're successful. It's about who shows up when life is hard and you have nothing to offer but yourself. My parents wanted a grandson when he was worth $40 million. Diane wanted us when we had nothing but each other. That's the difference. To everyone watching this who's been abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you, I want you to know something. Their rejection doesn't define your worth. Their absence doesn't determine your future. You get to choose who your family is. And sometimes the family you choose loves you better than the family you were born into ever could. If you've ever had to build your own family from scratch, leave a comment saying, "Chosen family." I want you to know you're not alone. We're out here. We found each other. And we're proof that love doesn't require DNA. It just requires showing up. Subscribe if you believe in stories about real justice. Not revenge, but the kind of justice where people face the consequences of their choices. Where truth matters more than reputation. Where love is measured in actions, not words. And if you know someone who needs to hear the story, share it. Because somewhere right now, there's an 18-year-old kid who thinks their life is over. Who thinks being a young parent means giving up on their dreams. Who needs to know that they're not alone. That there are people who will help. That their story doesn't end with rejection. It begins there. Thank you for listening to my story. For understanding that family is complicated. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. That sometimes the best revenge is building a life so good that the people who rejected you become irrelevant. My name is Rachel Torres. I'm 38 years old. 20 years ago, I was abandoned while pregnant. Today, I'm a successful businesswoman, mother to an incredible son, and grandmother to a beautiful boy. And I got here not because of my parents, but despite them. To David and Patricia Torres, wherever you are, thank you for one thing. Thank you for teaching me exactly the kind of parent I never wanted to be. Everything I did right, I did because I remembered how wrong you got it. And to Marcus, if you're watching this, which I know you will be because you watch all my videos, I love you. You made me a mother when I was barely more than a kid myself. You gave my life meaning. And watching you become a father? That's my greatest achievement. Not the business. Not the foundation.
You.
To everyone else, remember this. Your value isn't determined by who accepts you. It's determined by how you choose to live when people reject you.
Build anyway.
Love anyway.
Succeed anyway.
Because the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's a life so full of real love that fake family can't touch it. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. If this video helped you, meant something to you, or reminded you that you're stronger than your circumstances, hit that subscribe button. We're building a community here. A community of people who understand that family is earned, not owed. That success is possible even when you start with nothing. That love, real love, always finds a way. Comment below with your story. Where are you watching from? What time is it there? And most importantly, who's your chosen family? I read every comment. Every story matters. You matter. Until next time, this is Rachel Torres reminding you that you're not defined by who leaves you. You're defined by who you become after they're gone. Word count, 7,523 words, ***.